I have been working on my artist statement for about 2 weeks now. I was getting really frustrated with myself. Trying to write it just was not proving to be fruitful. I've always had a very hard time articulating what my art is about from an external point of view. But whenever I talk to myself in the car, whenever I make myself a voice memo, I can easily have a conversation with myself. So I was talking to my friend about how I really need to update my artist statement, my bio on my website, and submit a proposal. I told her that I was stuck at this part about actually talking about what my art is because I'm not really sure what my art is. I'm just kind of the vessel, the channel to get this art out into the world. It is my responsibility to translate my thoughts and my observations of the world into not only large format paintings for other people to experience, but also writing for people to actually start this conversation about what my work is about and why that's relevant in this current society. So my friend tasked me with writing a new artist statement every day. She said, why don't you write a new one every day? Just write about what's interesting to you. Maybe that will thread together ideas and develop a pattern for you to understand what your work is about. She also mentioned I can interview myself or have friends interview me, or I can also record myself talking and sort of just talk to myself. I started doing that. I basically have been writing a new artist statement every day. The way I formatted it was every day I just kind of write about an interest of mine that I think is relevant to my work. I've been writing about volcanoes, memories, deserts, orchids, spirals, calligraphy, really trying to understand why all of these motifs resonate with me and how that's relevant to my art. Ever since I've been doing that, I feel like my mind has been exploding with this newfound understanding of my own art. With that understanding, I'm also understanding myself a lot more. I also have been watching and listening to a lot of artist interviews. So for example, I've been watching Louisiana Channel to see how artists respond to questions, what type of questions they're being asked. Just really understanding how people process their own internal world and how they can express that to others when being asked. It is such a great tool to talk about your work because you can really define what it is and what made sense to you at that time and continue to see that growth. I would love to know what other people think about my art as well. I think that's super valuable to see how other people are perceiving the way that I showcase my work, but it's also very valuable that I put out my first understanding of what I think I'm doing. So I was watching J.W. Anderson's interviews. He was just talking through his own personal life philosophies and fashion philosophies with Loewe, with his own personal brand and how he navigates that. He talks a lot about how, and this really goes with personal style as well, about how your art, your means of expression is really just how you live your life, because the way that you live your life is inherently very political. You are inherently critiquing what's around you. You are showing people what you observe. By choosing to wear certain things, you're choosing to abstain from trends, or you're choosing to participate in them. The question of why you participate in certain things uncover your motivation behind the way that you do things. Are you signaling status? Are you showcasing your ethics, your morals? You're showcasing what you believe. You're showcasing your attitude within the world that you exist and the context that you exist in. I also watch a lot of Ryan Finn's videos and observe the way that they articulate their own perspectives on fashion and life, and that has been really helpful for me to write my artist statement and also just understand my art and what that means. As I've been choosing to slow down for the last month or so, I'm really observing why I like things why I don't like things, and how I participate in those conversations. One thing I really thought about a lot recently is my relationship with music, which is what I'm really trying to uncover right now. Basically, ever since I was a young girl, my mom is a piano teacher, so I grew up listening to classical music my entire life. And this is kind of a curse and a blessing because I am partially deaf. I wear hearing aids, so I was taught to understand music notation and listen to beats and rhythm using the metronome and my own hands. I'm not allowed to skip a beat when it comes to playing piano, which was my first musical instrument that I learned. Learning how to listen in the musical context was really valuable to me because I had to formulate my own perspective on listening with my hard of hearing disability, which has proven to really shape my outlook on life. For example, I ask my friends a lot this: do you listen to songs thinking about the lyrics and the words, or are you listening to the melody, or are you listening to how a song is being produced? I also asked my friends recently, like, how are you listening to music? Are you listening to it through albums, or are you listening to it from artists, or are you choosing songs? What is your everyday routine when choosing to intake this artistic experience in your life? What I've really found is that my ability to listen to music really stems from my childhood. Firstly, because I had to listen to thousands of versions of the same song over and over again. My mom is a piano teacher. Ever since I was 5 to even right now, I've heard her teach the same fundamentals, the same songs. She's expanded her song for sure. I've heard her play Twilight. I've heard her play a lot of modern songs. I've heard so many versions of the same sonata. I can hear the mistake and I can understand what the student did incorrectly and identify what beat needed to have changed or what note needed to have changed. And I think that really taught me a skill in critiquing and listening and observing, because I know what something is supposed to sound like when it's finished and ready, and I can also see the beauty in someone changing and doing improvisation at the same time. Firstly, listening to all these different versions of the same songs really trained me and my ear to understanding what all the possibilities of sound can be like. But secondly, participating in playing the music, being the active instrument, has really helped me as an artist because I'm able to formulate and understand why something makes sense the way it does and why it sounds good and feels good to me. There's a huge difference between just playing the songs and having that finished version and knowing that that's what it was meant to be, being able to sight read and know that you made an error because that wasn't in the right key or you had missed a beat and it just sounds off. All of this really taught me the art of listening, really paying attention to how things work together in context with each other, which I think fundamentally is a huge skill I have used through my design sensibilities in architecture, in visual design, and now in painting. Really understanding how things work on their own is one thing, but also understanding how they work in conjunction with each other and within the context of each other is when you really see the magic happen. That has really proved to work well with me and my art because I'm able to isolate the elements that I love and feel good for me for a certain piece, but also put them together in a way that makes sense and feels harmonious and balanced to me. When people think of harmony, they think of this idealized version, this very perfect version of how something's supposed to be, but it really is balanced in making sure that nothing stands out too much, it's too much of a mistake, is making sure that these things that maybe you purposely did that are off still makes sense and makes a statement. Yeah, so I've been listening a lot of classical music, getting myself more familiar with my past and also getting myself in touch with my inner child. I also feel like listening to so much classical music in my life really adapted this visual way of seeing, where to me classical music and going to symphonies and going to ballets as a child, the music was always very romantic, very, very soft. There was a certain rhythm, a certain story that the song would say, and I personally didn't realize it until recently that I've always translated this music to the curves and the waves that I paint because that's what it sounds like to me. I definitely don't have synesthesia, but everything has a feeling to it, and we're all simply translating these feelings for other people to experience that makes sense for us. I mean, I wonder how I would be doing art if I was raised listening to music differently, if I was listening to hip hop or R&B. This all contributes to the conversation of how we can't really run away from our past and who we were and our upbringing, because that nature and nurture really does form our perspective on how we live life now. As much as we want to run away from how we were shaped as children, that is definitely part of our perspective on life and how we continue to do things. And it's only when you're asking the simple questions of, oh, what were you listening to as a child? Even knowing what, if you were even listening to music as a child, tells you a lot about your artistic journeys. Yeah, I don't really have much more to say on that. I think I've just been really excited to dive deeper into this part of me. I'm thinking about buying a keyboard soon so I can play music, and really want to challenge myself and understand this relationship I have between music and visual art and my own personal history. So yeah, that's kind of all I had for today.